Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday. You would not believe how thick, I don't know if you can see it out my window here. This fog is so thick on the beach. It's like pea soup. I mean, you can't even see. Look at this. It's like I'm in London or something. I mean, this fog is absolutely unbelievable. Hopefully it'll clear up once I get off the water. This is right on the Gulf of Mexico, so this is actually, hopefully it's going to get a little bit better once we get off here. Maybe once I get over the main bridge going into the city, this fog will kind of thin out a little bit, because you can't see but a few feet in front of you, so wow. I wonder what kind of day today's going to be like. If this is any indicator. Oh, God. What a night. It was so quick. I don't know if you notice that the days can just fly by. When I'm really bored, I've got nothing to do. You know, and there's just, they last forever. It's like I want them to get over. But as soon as I actually have something to do, as soon as I start enjoying what I'm doing, it's just like they fly by. I want to thank everybody who, watched last night. I had a lot of people watching. I didn't even, I don't go back and check to see if I had anybody watching for a while until after the stream, but it was nice to see that I had folks watching. That was good. I want a special shout out to, I think it was the original Jing. She was the, they were the first ones that were on the channel that kind of had some great conversation. Great questions. I mean, it's kind of funny. That's one of the questions was why I started to stream, and I had to think about it for a minute. I mean, what was the real reason I started to stream? And the more I thought about it, it was just I love intelligent conversation, and so far that's kind of what gravitates to my channel. I have some great conversations, and they're not just, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I'll talk about anything. We'll talk about UFOs and all kinds of stuff, but it's when I watch a lot of these channels, you don't. There's kind of no substance to them. There's no substance to them. They're kind of, I don't know. They're just not for me personally. Not to say that they're not a great channel for that person or someone else, but for me, I like the kind of people that'll engage with you and ask some great questions. And it was a lot of fun last night, and I had to actually suspend my video, or make it private on YouTube, because as I was playing with it, we were talking about a song, some kind of a song last night, and I had played some of it, not realizing that if YouTube, they have a scanner in place that'll actually scan for music, and if they end up, I can get in trouble, I guess, for putting over, the copyrighted songs. And even though I could hear it in my ear, I made it to where you could hear it over the microphone, and which is a no-no. You don't want to get copyright violations. So I actually removed that video off of YouTube, so I didn't get penalized or slapped in the wrist. It's still up on all the other, streaming platforms. Wow, it's just so foggy now. It's still up on the other streaming platforms, but I had to take it off YouTube so I didn't get in trouble. But yeah, a lot of fun. And I tell you, I went to bed with, I don't know if you ever had it where I already have a problem with, with ADHD and everything, where I have a really hard time shutting down, just kind of closing my eyes and going to sleep, because my mind is always racing, always. And it goes about 1,000,000 miles an hour. That's why, I tell you guys all the time, I get 3, maybe 4 hours sleep if I'm lucky. Last night, I went to bed at 1:20, and it's, what is it now, like 6 o'clock, a little after 6. I just don't get that sleep that, I got up at 5, so, 1:30, and the sleep is not even that important to me, because I think it's overrated. I mean, all you're doing is laying there, and it's like, what's the purpose? You're just laying there. So, I laid down, and with all my thoughts racing and everything, I was just lucky if I drifted off by 2. I don't know. But it was a good night. I love being able to go to bed with, a positive experience. That's kind of what I like to bring every night, just kind of have some fun. And I did start the night off on a rant with that whole, the whole thing about Trump and his wall and the Democrats not wanting it. And I think it would have been, if I really truly was into politics, which I'm not, I think it would have been even more upsetting to me, all the stuff that's going on. But so I'd rather talk to you about Bugs Bunny cartoons than politics. Ask me about Looney Tunes or all this. I can tell you about that. Ask me about a movie. I can tell you about the new movies. Ask me about politics. I have no clue. I don't really. It's just not me. There's certain things I'm not into. Everybody's like that. There are certain things you love. I mean, I love music. I love movies. I love comedy. I mean, sappy movies. All that stuff. I'm into all that. I enjoy that. But, you ask me about things that, what do I think about the political climate here? What do I think about Brexit and all this stuff? I don't know. I don't even think about that stuff. So it's hard for me to have an opinion, at least an intelligent, informed opinion, when I just don't care about it. I'm just like, it's not me. I don't follow that stuff. And that's, that's unfortunate, because on such a level, there's intelligent people that are really, truly following these things. And while I'd love to participate and engage in those conversations, I'm like, yeah, it's just not me. You have things that interest you. Growing up when I was in school, I was a magician. I loved magic. I mean, close-up magic, kind of in your face, to where I loved the shock and awe. I loved to watch people just freak out and go, holy crap, how'd you do that? So I loved having that. Hold on one second, let me get over in this fog there we go. So, you always have different interests. My interests, even growing up, were, on top of my own personal likes. I like the guitar, I like to play music. I tried learning the piano or keyboards. Can't do that. I don't know how, and I'm sure it's just a natural skill for some people, but to make my right hand play something while my left hand is doing something else, it's kind of like walking and chewing gum. I can do it, but I don't do it well. And I have no rhythm, I guess. You need to have, like, they would have those little metronomes to go back and forth. I'd have none of that. I mean, now I can play a radio, that's pretty awesome. I can play the music that I enjoy, but that's about it. But we all have those things we like, and it was had some great questions. The funny part is, sometimes you're asked questions, and, a lot of people just like whip answers off the top of their head, like, but I mean, if you really think about them, like, I was asked questions, and I had to think. I was like, why do I do this? One of the questions, oh God, one of the questions almost brought me to tears. It was like, what is your biggest regret? And I was like, wow, man, I have so many. I mean, my list is long. Wish I would have been a better son. Wish I would have been a better father. Wish I would have been a better brother. My list of regrets is long, but to find that one regret, I mean, that's tough, because, like, we all, I mean, that's what life is, really. I mean, if you break it down to the simplest terms, life is experiences, good, bad, indifferent. I mean, it's all kinds of experiences. That's what builds life. That's what the very word implies, is that you've lived, and you've done things, and you've made mistakes, which we all have, and some of them are terrible mistakes. I look back at my life, and I think of all the people I hurt, and I mean, not intentionally, and then some intentionally. I mean, I was not a good person. I mean, people like to say I was a good person, but I mean, in my heart, I kind of know there were things that I did that were bad, and I regret a lot of those things, because back then I hate to say this but I didn't think. I was not a thinker. I was an actor. I would act. I would do things out. I wouldn't listen. Like I wanted a tattoo one time, right? I was I think I was 15. I was a junior in high school, and was I a junior? Yeah, I was a junior in high school. Because I wanted, when I turned senior, there was a group of us that when we became seniors, we were going to go out and get tattoos. And man, I was so jazzed. I was looking, looking for the tattoo, trying to pick the right one and everything. Well, I found out you needed, because I was under 18, I needed a parent's signature. And my dad was like, no, I'm not signing. My mother, none of them was signed, neither of them. So, and I was so mad. I was livid because all my friends were doing it. Their parents were signing and all this stuff, right? So I was pissed because I wanted this tattoo, and my parents would not let me get it. Parents always think they know better. So I was, but I ended up not getting it. And I look back today and I'm thinking, man, I'm so glad. I look at it and it was like, I had so many regrets, and it was like I wanted to add that to my list of regrets for not getting a tattoo. And then I'm thinking, but you know what? I really don't regret it. I'm actually very happy that I didn't do it because I really wasn't thinking, because tattoos are very personal. You are truly stuck with them for life. I work in a prison, and all these people that are tatted up, everybody's got a bunch of tats everywhere, or some people just have one or two. But every single one of them that I speak to regrets getting it, because it meant something to them at that time when they were, like me. It meant something to them. But then as they, got in trouble and got in the wrong mix, it wasn't quite as much for them. They were like, this is stupid, I don't know why I got this. So I kind of look back and think of all the mistakes that I could have made that I was prevented from making. And then I look at all the dumb ones I made, and I was like, man, and I think that was part of my trouble going to sleep. I was still thinking about all the things that I would change if I could. Because I think we all got things we would change. There's things that today, if we were able, they always say if you could turn back the hands of time, if you could just do things different. And I was trying to think, what would I do different? Because there was so much that, and it's not really regret. It's just that you'd kind of want a different outcome. You would have, I would have done this. And then I started to think about, would you really have changed those things? If I had the chance, if I could turn back the hands of time, would I really change certain things in my life? Because those events are what defines me today. Everything that happened then is what made me who I am today. And to change any one of those particular things that have happened would actually impact who I've become. And I'm kind of comfortable now, finally in my own skin. I'm kind of comfortable with who I am and what I've become, because there were so many other ways I could have gone. And I think back, I think back that I was probably just a phone call away from being in prison with a bunch of these guys. I was stupid. I made mistakes that really could have got me in a lot of trouble. But I was okay. I actually, those defined who I am and what I like, what I don't like, and but yeah, those are the questions that's the intelligent conversation I was talking about. Talking and really being able to say, what's cool? Yeah, I screwed up, I did this, but I'm okay with that because I learned something from it. And that's really all life is experience. It's just learning from your mistakes, learning from the things you've done wrong, learning from the things you've done right. Because without learning, we don't grow. We never grow. There's people that go through life and they make one mistake after another, and they just don't get it. They just don't learn from the mistakes. And those are the folks that are just destined. Just destined to go through life doing the same things over and over. Now, I don't beat myself up. I used to. I'm not going to lie. I used to beat myself up all the time. Because I had a girlfriend once who, in high school, who, I was so in love with her, man. I was actually, in high school, she was in college. And I thought she was the one. I thought, you know, I was going to get married, and because this girl, you know, I ended up breaking up with the first girlfriend I had in high school. That she was a freshman, and you know, but we ended up breaking up, and I went out with this college girl that I really thought was the one. I mean, we were, you know, she'd come over, she'd stay for Christmas. And my parents loved her. My parents loved her, and really liked her, and thought, you know, this is it. And I really did too, until the day came where she was not as faithful and she was not into me as much as I was into her, apparently. I find, you know, and I got hurt. And man, I was dead. Matter of fact, it was kind of funny because right after that's when I went into the Army. I was so bummed. It's like I had nothing left, and so I joined the Army to get away from her and get away from the whole situation. But I look back on that, and I think I was not a good person. I was never faithful to any of the girlfriends I had. I would cheat on them with their best friends and all. I was a terrible, terrible person. I mean, I just was. Never thought about who I was hurting or none of that. And I think about that every day, you know, when I look back and I think, what would I have changed? Would I have done it differently? Well, yeah, there was people I wouldn't have hurt. I probably would have done things different. But I don't know. The experience itself kind of made me realize, you know, that there's parts of me that I really hated. I didn't like it. But it also made me realize that what it was like to be hurt. I mean, I had been doing all the hurting up to that point, and then all of a sudden I felt it, and I was like, oh my God, this sucks. You know, it's the worst feeling. And I was like, oh, but that was my life. That was part of the experience of life. That's what I had to go through. And I kind of looked at that and I went, you know, especially today, you know, back then, you know, my world was over. But today I look back and I think it was just a lesson, you know, and that's all life is, lessons. What did I learn from that lesson? And it made me make the right choice with my wife now, because when I met my wife that I'm currently married to for, you know, forever, matter of fact, more than 50% of my life, wow, yeah, more than 50% of my life has been spent with one person, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I wouldn't change it. That's what defines who I am. I unconditionally, I love, and I'm not afraid of getting hurt anymore. I mean, I was always afraid after that. I was really gun shy for a while, and then I kind of went back on that defensive side where I wouldn't let anybody in because I was so afraid of letting anybody in because I already got hurt once. I didn't want it to happen again. So, but then I kind of did. I said, you know what? Fuck it. You know what? If I get hurt, I get hurt. It's just meant to be. There's got to be someone out there that is just perfect for me. And if it doesn't work out, then I will just move on until I find that person. And it was when I met my wife. We met. We dated for a week. Dated for 2 weeks. It was under a month, really. And we decided, let's get married. And you know, we didn't have, like, some people dated for years. Oh yeah, we dated for 5 years, 3 years, 7 years, 2 years, even a year, even. You know, some people dated for a year. No, we decided after, you know, several months to go ahead and do it. And you know, one of the questions I was asked last night is, how did you know when you were in love with your wife? And I'll be honest, I didn't. I mean, I really didn't. It was a leap of faith. I really cared for this person. I didn't have to get married. I didn't have to get married at all. As a matter of fact, I'm not a proponent of marriage. I don't believe by any stretch of the imagination that marriage is the... Oh, wow, there's a train coming somewhere. You hate driving in fog and hearing a train. Can you hear that? It's somewhere up there. But Yeah, so it's kind of weird because I can tell you firsthand that looking back on all the things that I did, I haven't done, the regrets, I would do it all over. I would do all the same. I'd make all the same stupid mistakes. I would go ahead and spend all my time, kind of reliving and redoing the things I've done, because fearful that if I changed any of those, it would impact me. Because I was even today. You know what? I'll go as far as to say even today. There are times where I allow other people to impact my life in so many ways that just rip me apart and tear me apart. And I allow that, though. I mean, I don't do the things necessary to put myself out of that situation. You know, like for the last, I don't know how many years, I've worked with, in the companies I've worked with very toxic people. And when I say toxic, I mean these people there are certain people you just don't want to be around. Not because, you know, that they have a bad odor or anything like that. They don't bring you any joy. They actually make you feel bad either about yourself or just in general. They're always complaining. See, I'm not a pessimist. I've always been an optimist. I've always been a very positive person. I don't believe in seeing the negative side of anything. Why would you dwell on things that you can't change or people you can't change? And that was a lot of the thing that I had to go through. Is I had to realize that these people I work with are all idiots. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, the people I work with, what bothers me, I can't change them. I can't change the way they are. And I shouldn't let that impact me, but it did for like the longest time, man. It really did bother me. And it was a long time before I realized I can't change them. I can't make them less of an idiot. I can't make them be anything that they're going to be who they're going to be. And I had to get over the fact that I was helpless to change that. And even today, it's tough. It is a challenge every day, because there are some days I go and not so much anymore. I mean, well, over the last 3 to 4 months, it hasn't been so bad. But before then, every day you kind of sit there and I said, man, I'm so tired of the situation. I don't want to. I mean, I would dread. Man, now I get up and I'm ready. I'm like, great day. We're going to get it through. Positive thinking, the power of positive thinking. Get through, do it. It's going to be a great day. That's how I think. I'm much more positive. Back then, I would get up and go, oh, God, I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in. I don't want to be there. And I didn't. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be there. But I went every day knowing when I came home I was going to be in a bad mood usually. But then I start to realize, I'm allowing other people to steal my joy. I'm allowing someone else to determine my happiness, my degree of happiness. And man, once you realize that, you're like, screw that, man. I'm not letting anybody bring me down. And I try to have a refreshed, every day I try to be refreshed and just kind of go in with a positive experience and say whatever happens, part of my life experience, I'll chalk it up, but I'll take that and I'll put it off to the side, and I'm not going to let it bother me. Sometimes you can't help it because it does bother you, but most of the time I'm pretty good. I can just set it aside, and that's what I try to do when things get me down, when things really bother me. I have to realize the things that I can change and the things I can't change, and that's important because there's so many people that try to change things that they can't change, and then the things that they can change are right in front of them and they don't do anything about it. So I don't want to be that way. I want to change for the better the things that I can, and then leave the things for the worse and the worse. I mean, I don't put a lot of don't rear end me here. I don't put a lot of stock in people that say they're going to change, well, if my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my wife or my husband, if they don't do this, I'm going to make them do that. No, you're not. I mean, it's cool to think you're going to. I mean, I really admire your vim and vigor and your enthusiasm that you're going to change someone else, but you're not. I mean, people are who people are. And if the one thing I've learned, and this sounds pessimistic, but it's not. It's not pessimistic. It's reality. It's life. People are going to do, and people are going to say whatever needs to be said or whatever needs to be done is just to serve themselves. Very, very, very rarely will a person not have ulterior motives for doing what they're doing. Now, you might say, well, that's your opinion, or that, no, really. I mean, it's human nature. It's not like that's a bad thing. As long as, if you're hurting someone else, I would think that's a bad thing. But for the most part, that's just life. That's how people are. I don't do something unless I know that it's doing something for me that, like, I'll give you an example. You see these people at soup kitchens, or they donate their time to charity, and you think, wow, man, that person is just so kind and considerate, and you think that, wow, they're so selfless, and no, that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because it brings them pleasure. It's totally 100%. It's all about their desire to bring pleasure to themselves in a way that keeps them busy and makes a difference. So it's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not like because they're doing something that is self-serving that it's a bad thing. But then there's other people that will tell people whatever those people want to hear. They'll do whatever, and they do it purely for a greedy, self-serving, their own platform, their own desires are, because that's human nature. That's just how people are. You want to be happy. Every single person wants to be happy. That's just life. Everybody wants comfort, joy, to be happy, to be, excited about life. That's what they want. And for you to think any other way is ridiculous, because why do people work? People go to work every day, 9 to 5, grind in jobs that they hate, but they do it so they can enjoy the things in life that make them happy. My dad used to tell me, sometimes we do the things that we don't want to do so we can afford to do the things we want to do. And that's what it's all about, those moments of joy in your life. People don't work from 9 to 5 grinds like I do because I love it. I hate it. But I do find something in my work that is, once again, self-serving. I find something in my job that I enjoy, and that's making a difference to these inmates that I'm working with. I'm teaching them what I believe is a valuable skill for them to use to make themselves better when they get out and not make these same mistakes. So to me, there is purely a selfish factor in what I do. It's not that I want to do it, because really, let's be honest. If I was absolutely, I hated my job, and I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't. I'd be miserable. And people say that I love my job. Okay, all right. Well, let me ask you this: if you love your job, would you come in for the next week and work for free? Now, some people, oh yeah, I'd come and I'd work for free. No, you won't, because you can't pay your bills. You love those little luxuries in life, like food, shelter, clothing. Well, guess what? If you're doing your job that you're doing and you're not getting paid, you're not going to have all those little... How happy is that going to make you? You think the fantasy fairy is going to come and pay all your bills and do everything? It's not going to happen. So, there's this whole realize why we do things. Why, it took me a long time. I'm not going to lie and say, I was super intelligent. I figured it out in a few years. it took me a lifetime before I could figure out the fact that people are the way they are because of these certain things. And I use the pleasure and pain experience because that's what's most real. People do what's going to bring them joy, bring them pleasure, and people avoid pain in whatever way possible. Broken relationships. Why do I stay in broken relationships? Because all these reasons I can avoid pain by staying. They don't think of the joy they would get if they left. I don't know. It's weird because as I get older, you know, when I was younger, when I was in school, when I was going through, you know, my college, and I was none of these things. And I think what happens is, if you're truly blessed, if you're truly blessed, you're going to be on this planet, on this blue little marble, if you're lucky, for 100 years. Let's just say 100 years. Now, they'll say, well, 80 years or 70 years is usually, whatever. Let's just say you're truly blessed, you're very lucky, and you're going to live to be 100 years old. Well, right now, the first 20 years of your life, the first 20 years, they don't count. They don't count because those are your informative years. Those are years where you're learning what you like, you're learning what you don't like, you're learning who you like, who you don't like, why you don't like people. It's your learning phase. You know, for my first 20 years, I was an idiot. I was absolutely clueless. I was in the Army for I did 8 years in the Army, but up until I was 20 years old, I was clueless. I didn't have a clue. I was totally an idiot, but it's very easy for me to see it now. But at that time, I thought I was the smartest person in the world. You can't tell me nothing. I know everything. No, I should have known what I don't know. But the thing is, you know, being that as I got older, I kind of was able to see these things. But like I was saying, so let's say you're on this planet for 100 years. Your first 20 years, they don't count because you're just trying to learn who you are. Now, the next, you know, your last years, let's say you hit 70, so let's say your last 30 years, they don't count either. Because when you hit your 70s, or, you know, those last 30 years, you know, 10 of them you're probably drinking soup from a straw, who knows, but, you know, your last 30 years are more the time that you're going to reflect on your life. You're going to reflect back and look on all the, you know, look at your family and your kids and your grandkids, and you're going to really kind of just see what you've built up to that time. It's those middle years from, say, 20 to, you know, those 20 to, say, 50 or whatever. You really want to find out how you can make the most impact and really find what makes you happy. Because that's what I've learned. If nothing else in my life, I've learned, follow my happiness, follow my joy, do the things that I enjoy doing before it's too late. Because I'll tell you, it's the worst thing to look back and say, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You know, I could have done this, I would have done this, I should have done this. And I was such a trusting person, man. Whoa! I look back, I would have grabbed myself and just shook myself, smacked myself, and said, "Are you stupid?" I was so trusting. I trusted, and I look back at that, and because at the time I thought it was bringing me happiness, so I would. But if I had it to do over, I would definitely have done it different. I mean, I should have known. You know, people will tell you whatever you want to hear to get what they want. That was a lesson I learned the hard way, and I'm going to tell you, I really never thought that way. I didn't believe that, but it's true. People will tell you whatever you want to hear. You know, if you're guys, you know, you say whatever you need to get in the girl's pants. You do. If you're a woman, you say whatever you need to get the guy's money or whatever. All these little, but it happens, and it was a really shitty part of my life to learn that the hard way, that people are self-serving. But those years in between my 20s and, I mean, I'm still, you know, people always say, well, you're getting older. No, man, screw you. You're getting older. I'm as old as I feel, and I'll do whatever I want still. I'm still at that childish age, juvenile, childish, immature. That's how I am, but in a much different way than when I was truly childish, juvenile, and immature. Boy, you guys, I don't know if you can see that. I mean, you see just, I'm looking at the thing, I can see some of the fog, but I can literally see about 20 feet in front of me on this road. So I keep looking for these red lights so I can brake, because if somebody stopped, I'll never see it. But it comes to being careful getting to work. Yeah, so I don't know. Life is kind of funny. You do the best you can with what you're given, and the rest you kind of figure out for yourself. Oh, here we go. Stop. But it's along the way, it's nice, because I think, I have this belief. I really, truly believe, and I've always believed this. This is something back from when I was a kid, that people are put in your path every day for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. There are reasons that you meet the people that break your heart. There's a reason that you meet the people that make you laugh. There's a reason that certain people cross your path every day. And sometimes, as much as we hate to admit it, sometimes those people are there for bad reasons. They're put there for bad reasons, to hurt you, to make you realize something, a learning point. And then you walk away, you may be a little bit scarred, a little bit hurt, and you feel tarnished, but you shouldn't. You should actually understand that was an opportunity for growth. That person was put there for a reason. And while you might have thought at the time, like, and in my case, I look back, there's a lot of times where I thought people were in my life for a good reason, and it ended up not being for a good reason, and I used to beat myself up over that, but now I realize everything happens for a reason. If there's somebody that comes into your life, or somebody that you come across, or somebody that comes across you, we all impact each other's lives more than you'll ever know. This kind of alludes to what we were talking about yesterday, when I was saying you never know. You absolutely never know how much you impact someone else's life. Sometimes it can be something stupid and off the wall that you took and you said something, not finding any value in what you said, but it might have been exactly what that person needed to hear at that moment in their life, and you had some kind of impact, and you'll never know it. Very, very rarely do people say to you, you know what, you really have made a difference in my life. I mean, I've only heard it a few times in my life, and it's a very humbling experience when you do it. But it can happen to anybody, anytime, any age. There's things that, I look back and I think, who are the people that have impacted my life the most? I mean, truly the most. Who's been my motivating factor in life that has really inspired me? And I grew up with a great dad and a great mom, but we weren't the perfect family by any stretch of the imagination. My dad at one time, there was a time where back then things were much different than today. I was actually at a store with a friend of mine that was shoplifting. He was stealing from the store, and he tried to get me involved with it. He grabbed some stuff and stuffed it down my coat, and he tried to have me take things. And as we were walking around the store, I took the stuff and dropped it back out. I didn't want to be a part of that, because I knew, we all know right from wrong. We all know it. It's just whether or not we are ready to say, I will do what's right. I don't want to. A lot of people do it just to be part of an in crowd or whatever. I never fell into that crap. Peer pressure was never about me. You know what? If I didn't want to do something, or if I wouldn't do it. But he dragged me through the store, and he was shoplifting, and as he was trying to make me shoplift, I was putting the stuff back, behind his back so he wouldn't see. But the thing was, as we left that store, security grabbed both of us, and they emptied his pockets and took him into custody and arrested him. And they looked through everything I had, couldn't find a single thing, and let me go. And I went home, and I said, wow. I says, well, and I felt good. I felt really good about myself because I was able to step away from something that I knew was stupid, which, you know, for me wasn't hard because I knew right from wrong. I had been raised to know right from wrong. Well, anyway, I get home. Later that night, the phone rings, and I'm in the kitchen, and my dad says, yeah? He says, yeah, speaking. What is this? What had happened? The manager of the store called my house and got my father on the phone and actually told him that I was, stopped by, arrested by the authorities, this and that, and for shoplifting because I was involved in shoplifting. And my dad said he'd handle it and everything. He hung up the phone, and he came across that room in a blink of an eye and grabbed me and just slammed me into the wall so hard my head put an indent in the drywall that was there. And he had me around the throat, and I mean, he just scared the living hell out of me. And he says, I raised you better than that. You're not a goddamn thief. And he just, and I says, I didn't. And I was trying to explain to him, I didn't steal anything. I didn't take anything. And he grabbed me by my collar, and he drug me down the hallway, threw me in my room, and he told me, he made me, my father made me write 1,000 times. I couldn't make this up, man. There's 25 lines in a sheet of paper, front and back, 50 lines. He made me write 1,000 times, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not steal. 1,000 times. And when I was finally done, he grabbed me and he took me up, the next day to the store manager. And, and he grabbed me and I had to apologize. I had to say I was sorry and tell him that I would never steal again. And despite all of my objections saying I didn't steal, it wasn't me, it was, and my dad would not listen. And he says, you're going to give him those 1,000, and you're never going to do this again. He was so disappointed in me. I had let him down so bad in his eyes. So we get to the store manager, and my dad, brings me there, and he apologizes, and he says he's got something to say, and he's got something to give you. And I just give him the papers and everything. I said, I'm sorry. And the guy's looking, and he looks at my dad, and he goes, well, this young man didn't steal anything from us. It was the other man, the other young man. And my dad says, what? And you could just see it in my dad's face. And the store manager says, yeah, he didn't steal anything, but he had a friend with him that was shoplifting and who stole all this merchandise. And he said, but he didn't steal anything. And he says, so he doesn't owe me any kind of an apology. He says, if anything, I owe him an apology for, the way they treated me thinking that I was stealing. And I looked at my dad, and I just burst into tears and stormed out of the store. And on the ride home, I was so angry. I was so angry because of what he had done and not trusting me. But I looked at him, and he was crushed. He was so devastated, and he apologized, over and over. He apologized, said he was sorry, that he didn't trust me, and he felt that, and he felt terrible, absolutely terrible. And the thing is, I know he felt terrible. I know he felt bad. But the thing is, at that age, I didn't realize how much it truly hurt him, because he, at that point, had built up that I had disappointed him and let him down, and then to find out that I didn't let him down, it was this very mixed emotion. He was very happy, very, self-congratulatory in that respect, that he was happy that he raised me right, but he was so devastated that he didn't trust me, and that he had actually punished me for something I didn't do. And you can bet I played that to the hilt. I mean, any chance I got, I would put that back on him to let him know how he made me feel, and well, you didn't trust me, but that manipulation factor, it was there. But my dad, back in those days, he did not hesitate to take his leather belt. He would take his belt off and lay it to my ass, and people today, if you do that, it's child abuse. We're going to do, and here's the thing that people don't understand. It is because my father cared enough, because he loved me enough to spank my ass, to ground me when I did wrong, to do all these things. It's because he loved me enough then that I became who I am now. I don't regret one time or have any bad. I would never call my father abusive, because I only got my ass whipped if I deserved to get my ass whipped. And there's no mistaking it. You know when you do wrong. You know when you're being an asshole. You know when you're being the way you shouldn't be. And you know what? That's exactly what it was in my case. I see. Well, we have a poor connection. So I see that we have a poor connection. Must be getting close to. Shit. Let me tell you how bad it is here. I just passed where I turned into work. I couldn't even see it. But yeah, we were choppy there. Sorry about that. But as I was saying, I don't regret a moment of anything that my dad ever. He cared, and he cared enough to basically want me to be better. And yeah, did he spank my ass? Did he do these things? Yes, he did. Does he regret them? He would always tell me, this hurts me more than it hurt you. And he meant that. It wasn't something that he just said. I mean, he would be, I could see it. I mean, I knew he was tore up inside anytime he had to punish me. But I look back, and even after that happened, I knew it was my fault. Most of the things that I did were so wrong, so bad. I was not an easy kid, so but he's, our family stayed together. They never got divorced. It was interesting. Life is full of things that you look back at, and sometimes you just can't see them. Sometimes we just, because our own emotions are a certain way, we either refuse to see things for really how they are. And no matter what somebody tells you, you're very often you're going to be dismissive of that. But I look back and I think, I wish I would have had somebody that would just kind of explain it to me. Because back then, they never explained anything to me. Growing up, people never tell you what they really are thinking. One of the topics that came up, which we'll go through a little bit after, maybe on the ride home, we'll talk about on the afternoon drive. But one of the things that came up was when you're different in school. When you're different, and sometimes you're bullied or whatever, and that's something that I can really relate to, because I was different. I still am different today, way different. And getting bullied was something that was just absolutely something that I can actually. Hold on for 1 sec. I can relate to, but I'll tell you why it never even bothered me in school. Holy shit. I can't see cars come. I'm going to try and shoot across, but I can't even see the headlights. So, but yeah, I'll tell you, even when I was growing up, the bullying, even though it occurred, and it was really hard to deal with, I found a way to get, mentally, I found a way to get by it, because that's all it was to me, was a mental game. Even though there was a million things that affected me emotionally, I just knew I was stronger you know, they might have been able to bully me, but they couldn't beat me or defeat me. They just couldn't, because I was mentally stronger than any of them. But I'm getting close to work. I'll probably start losing a signal in a few. Thanks for, you know, taking the ride with me this morning and allowing me to kind of think out loud. Matter of fact, that's probably what I should call my morning drive and my afternoon drive, is just thinking out loud, because that's kind of what I do. I don't really have that chat mechanism in place where we can chat and I can give any feedback, so I'll work on that. But thanks for tuning in this morning, and I really hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you again maybe 3 o'clock, 3:15. Actually, maybe even sooner. I think I'll probably take off around maybe 1 o'clock today or 2. I don't know. I'll be leaving early probably. I've got school. Oh God, I've got 5 classes I'm in. My first class starts tonight, 8 o'clock. Or not 8 o'clock. Today's the 8th, right? So I have my first class starts tonight. I've got 2 more classes starting on the 10th. And all these classes, you know, I'm in these classes till like, I don't know, April maybe. You know, that's just the way I do it. I'm taking all 5 classes at one time, so I get them out of the way. That's you know, that's just how. All in the name of making myself better. Driving off the side of the road. All right. Stream me now. Whatever. Man. Oh my God. Alright, so today hopefully it'll go quick. Got a lot to do, got computers to get up. See if I can get them on the network today. Got to re-image them. I think I've only got 3 of them done so far. Alright. This is the part of my day that's the most challenging, just getting out there and getting started. Once I get in and get my Mountain Dew, my morning Mountain Dew, oh my God, I didn't even grab my Mountain Dew. See what happens? You get in a hurry, you forget the most important things. So, I'll get in, get my caffeine going. I did bring my chicken, so I had to make sure that I had my lunch with me, so I brought about a dozen chicken wings. I love chicken. Yeah. Doing good on my diet. You know, I'm down, as I told you, it was, I think I'm down over 10 pounds already, so the diet, easy diet, I mean, really easy, so I'm not having a kind of, and have fun, and